Hey everyone, this is Stove here. Today we are going to be previewing the second week of college football. And I will probably start doing this every single week. But this week we are going to mostly be talking about at least seven games that I have already picked out and wrote some stats on them, and even have a couple of games that I'm going to be giving a little small talk to. And with that being said, let's get right into it. Obviously, Friday we're going to have Louisville versus James Madison. We're going to have Northwestern versus Western Illinois, Northern Illinois versus Maryland, and Eastern Washington versus Boise State. Now, obviously, Boise State is not a part of one of the two teams that I'm going to give a little small talk, but I do have to say that unless Boise State does not score more than 40 points this game, then people, I think, can and, well, I don't know about can, but they should definitely think about, is this going to be a good Boise State team this year? If so, comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on Boise State this year. If you think that they just had a rough start and they weren't ready in the first week, which I feel like in college or in even high school, you should always be ready, even if it's the first week of the regular season. But just let me know what you guys think, because it does matter to me. And going into Saturday, we're going to have Florida International at Penn State. That will be a wash. Penn State absolutely obliterates this team. Texas doing the same thing to San Jose State. Then you got possibly a more close favorite with Illinois getting 2.5 points of the favorite against Duke. I get it. Maybe it's just because Duke is going to be at home this coming weekend. It kind of makes sense, but not really. Eastern Texas A&M and Florida State. Florida State should wash them over. Iowa versus Iowa State. This is, to me, going to be the first game that we're going to be talking about, and from the looks of it, whether or not you guys want me to click on these teams and really dive deeper into their teams, I'm going to bring up a few stats here, and that being Rico, their quarterback, and that's actually Iowa State, which Iowa State does have 2 wins already and could definitely be getting a third win going into this game. But looking at the statistics here, you do have their quarterback, who went in the last 2 games, went 33 for 48, 461 yards, 5 passing touchdowns, and had been sacked 4 times. Obviously, these guys play a lot with their running backs. Their running backs, whether or not it's because they're able to give their running backs the ball quite a bit, but I mean, against Kansas State, they were giving their running backs the ball between like a lot of just attempts, but even a couple Oh, I guess not. Okay, maybe it's just Carson that I saw. So, yeah, with the 3 catches. But, yeah, they have been definitely giving these 3 right here, Henson, Lee, and Abu Sama the third. Like these 3 running backs are pretty solid and have even had some breakout plays from time to time. Their longest for Lee is 28 yards rushing, but all 3 of them average above 3.5 yards per game, which, if the way my old coach used to say it, if we do 3 run plays and you get about 3.5 yards, what do you think I'm gonna do for that fourth down? I'm gonna trust my offense and I'm gonna run it again. So, from what I've seen, they've done pretty well. They've even gotten 2 good tight ends, Benjamin and Berkeley. A beautiful tight end duo. I gotta admit, they have it down whenever it comes to whether it's the play action or some form of shotgun. They have it down with giving it to the tight ends and even having their number 1 receiver right here get quite a few yards and break away for even a 66-yard catch with having 1 touchdown. So you're going to hopefully see a lot more of these 2 right here. And I'm going to give their credit to their kicker here, because if it ends up being a close game, just like I think it's going to be a close game with another team that I have written down, I do think it will come down to Kyle. And from the looks of it, he has missed a 40 to 49 yarder, but he did make a 63-yard field goal. So as long as it's not really that windy over there in Iowa State or over there in Iowa, I think this guy is going to get at least 2 field goals this game, with also having at least 2 to 3 extra points, my guess. And their defense is rocking as well. Their DBs did a lot of stuff for them. Wasn't not really to say much, because their defensive line is okay, but they have more of a power back 7, if that makes sense. Like their back 7, their linebackers and DBs are the ones that are going to be knocking on the door, giving the pressure to that quarterback, and has been getting pressure to that quarterback the last 2 games. Hell, that's how they won against Kansas State, was very good, consistent tackles, but also giving that pressure to the Kansas State quarterback. I think that's going to be their strong suit when dealing with Iowa's quarterback here. But anyway, we are going to then go on to their... Hold up. Gonna go all the way back. We're gonna go to Iowa, which, to me, Iowa, their quarterback is... I don't know if it was just because they didn't give their quarterback much love for the passing game, or they're just not used to having this many passes. Well, they're not used to having more of a passing team which the last like 3 or 4 quarterbacks weren't that good compared to a average college quarterback. Well, the average great college quarterback, I should say, because the average quarterback in college probably does bring these stats sometimes. But 815, 48 yards, and 1 touchdown. Been sacked 1 time, which was last week. Their offensive line is okay, but don't get me wrong, Mark. Uh, I'm gonna try not. I don't know why I was saying his name a lot yesterday. Grun Gronokowski. I'm still probably butchering that name. He is a runner, so even with his passing, uh, he does give the ball a lot to his 3 running backs here, and you may even see a breakout with 15 carries. You may see a breakout game with Terrell Washington, and even Peterson if they want to give him a couple. But yeah, not really. Obviously, they didn't really pass much, so their guys don't necessarily look too good. But to me, it does look like they also go for more of like trying to feed their tight ends too. I remember, obviously, everyone can remember, if you guys do watch the NFL draft, you can see that it's either Iowa or Penn State or maybe like 1 or 2 other schools that I may be forgetting right now, but you're usually seeing Penn State and Iowa collectively get a lot of tight ends put through the draft every like 3 or 4 years. So obviously they do use their tight ends. It's just the fact that Mark needs to probably be given the opportunity to push downfield a little bit more. Or if the offensive coordinator feels like they want to run through Xavier Williams more and the other 2 quarterbacks that I named, you might as well just don't worry about what your quarterback does unless he's throwing interceptions. Then you should be worrying a lot. Um, and their kicker, Drew Stevens, has been perfect last week. Kicked a 55 long field goal, and he could also kick those in the very close, like 20 to 29. 4 for 4 on extra points. Pretty solid. Their defense, this defense right here, maybe it's just because of the fact that they've only played 1 game, but their DBs and linebackers, same thing. They were more in control than their defensive linemen, even though it does show that there was 1 defensive lineman here that got a sack. Oh, there's 2 defensive linemen right here that got some solid sacks. So, but I do think you definitely want your D-line and your edge rushers to really pressure this Rico quarterback over in Ohio State. In order for them to win, they have to play hard-nosed defense and not let Rico, you got to do the best you can. These DBs have to be on their guys, whether it's man coverage or not. I think you have to, even if it's not man coverage, I think you send down 1 linebacker or you send down a safety or corner from time to time just to blast Rico. He may have second thoughts the next drive trying to move out of the pocket, though it also shows that if he stays in the pocket, he's putting up numbers consistently from what we've seen, even against a team like Kansas State, who did give them a little bit of trouble and kept them to 24 points. But like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if this also comes down to the wire. But I'm going to have to go Ohio State will win this game by 10 plus points. I'll give Iowa the benefit of the doubt there. Now, going on to our next game, because our next game will be showed up at the same time as Iowa State and Iowa, but you have Baylor and SMU's jeez, at their stadium in Texas. So these two teams here, though, I gotta admit, both offenses show a lot of promise. Both of their offenses. Sawyer, the Baylor quarterback, he threw for 419 yards, 3 touchdowns already this season, but he's been sacked 4 times. So that offensive line probably needs to do a little bit better job when pass protecting. And you got Wilson, and you got you got Wilson and Washington, both those two who are the running backs, I believe. No, never mind. Here, let me just click on Baylor, because I don't want to be also butchering their first names. Guys, I have them down right here, just like their. Some of them I have them down for their last names and not their first names. But Bryson Washington, he can have a good game. Obviously, Sawyer Robinson threw 27 and 48 on 48 attempts. Completed 27 for 48 attempts. Got 3 touchdowns. So, realistically, having the quarterback throw 48 times and being sacked 4 times, you could probably say is still okay, but I still think that offensive line for Baylor needs to crack down on making sure that no one gets through. The pass protection is needed. I mean, you don't want Sawyer Robinson to feel like Joe Burrow in the pocket every single time he throws. Which, the way I'm looking at it, I know we're just talking about college football here, but seems like the offensive line may or may not have too much to worry about. But I think we'll still have a lot of trouble with Burrow getting pressured more and more, it feels like, every single year. But Bryson Washington, I think they give him the ball just a little bit more. You give him the ball, you give Knighton the ball a little bit more. I know Sawyer, it looked like he tucked the ball, it looked like, trying to run around a little bit, but obviously couldn't exactly do much for himself or for his team, but it did unfortunately affect, even though he didn't throw any interceptions, the fact that he only had the passing game to keep Baylor in there. I think you would want these two running backs or even another running back to have a breakout game in order to keep SMU's defense on their toes. That being said, you also have Cole Wilson, you have Hawkins, you have Cameron, you have Michael Trigg. I mean, those 4 right there. Now, granted, you can also say Kobe, who had 2 catches and 38 yards. I mean, you can really give all of the credit to these wide receivers because they made big plays out of the catches that they had. But I think you give the ball mainly to these three, but keep Josh Cameron in the game from time to time. You're gonna have, well, yeah, even the rest of these receivers. Let me just say that even the rest of these receivers, you can just keep this little package right here, and as long as they're consistently catching the ball, not many drops. Obviously, in college, even in the NFL, there will be some drops here and there. But as long as they're consistently catching it, as long as Cole Wilson, Adam Trigg are not Adam Trigg, jeez, Michael Trigg. Am I saying? Yeah, Trigg. Both those two seem like they've been getting the ball quite a bit. I think that's going to be Baylor's two strong arms there. But you also have the blasting speed of Hawkins and Cameron, who can just blow up field, make guys miss. Same with Josh Cameron. But I think you give any of these receivers here the chance, they will turn that defense into Swiss cheese, it feels like. But yeah, unfortunately though, Baylor did lose their last game. So they it's going to be kind of tough for them, but they're going into this game really wanting a win. They win against SMU, it's probably going to put them in a better spot, and even for the next game afterwards, probably give them the chance to make top 25, especially since some of their scheduled teams that they do face is also in the top 25. The defense is pretty good is the defense for Baylor, in my opinion, has been good. And if the offense plays the way that they played last weekend, then I think all the defense has to do, you have to step up. You have to do certain things. You got to put up more of an effort on the passing game with SMU's team. But you also have to make sure that it's not just Kenton Thomas who is making these tackles for you, because the guy literally has 9 more tackles than the second most tackles in his team. Maybe he just had a big game, and that's great. You're going to hopefully see Kenton Thomas make a good play, and if they send him down the line, I think he even gets a sack this game as well. But you got to have more pass protection with these corners and safeties. I mean, I see one pass deflection, but it's not that much. I see one sack from Kendrick from the safety, but still, I guess there's one more, and yeah, it says 3. Maybe I'm just blind, but I can't see the third pass deflection. But anyway, yeah, it's got to be more than just Thomas. It can't just be him. Other than that, I think Baylor is going to hopefully make it a back and forth game against SMU. Though, because it's SMU's stadium, I do think SMU will come out with that win, as long as their defense is not being, like I said, is not being sliced up like Swiss cheese. Now we can go on to SMU. Oh, I passed it. There you are. Now with SMU, you do have Kevin Jenkins with 260 passing yards and 2 passing touchdowns. Only got sacked twice. Did have an interception last game, even though they didn't necessarily face I don't think they really faced a good team last week, but maybe that might be something that Baylor could do if they catch Kevin Jenkins off. They could get 2 interceptions off of him as long as they pressure him. And I think I think Baylor has the linebackers to bring in a blitz at least 5 times. Whether it's the blitz for the linebackers, whether you come down with that same safety and Kendrick getting a sack, just someone else has got to step up. And if they can, then you won't see 22 and 30. You'll probably see, if he throws probably another 30, 35, you'll probably be able to hold him to like 15 or 17 passing completions, and maybe even getting him 2 interceptions after this coming game. And they do roll out with their running game a little bit. Obviously, both like Ty Hawkins, he is a quarterback. He didn't necessarily play as a quarterback like the last game. Like, he didn't throw it, but they did give him the ball once, got them 12 yards. So, and even Kevin Jenkins is able to be a little mobile and can get some space whenever he rolls out of the pocket, just to fire it to people like his 2 receivers here. I think they give Maryland the ball a little bit more. They'll have a good trio there with Jalen Cooper and Romello at the helm. I mean, both of them are going to probably get more than 60 receiving yards, especially if Romello gets another break off 50, 60 yarder like he did last game. And obviously you could see that Kellen Rogers, their kicker, 6 for 6. They scored a lot of touchdowns. So we gotta be aware. They have to be aware that Baylor's defense is coming with blitzes. They're gonna want to pressure Kevin Jenkins. Now, in this preview and in all of these other previews, you're going to have me talking about a lot of pressure, because that's what you want in order to stun any QB. You're going to need pressure. You're going to need to chip that quarterback a little bit. You're going to need to really get inside that quarterback's head. Now, if he's the type of quarterback to really be so composed that even getting hit 5-6 times, maybe 10 times a game, is not really going to affect him too much, he's going to keep on going down the field as long as he can take a few hits while also getting some first downs after throws. And their defense is pretty solid. Their defensive line has 3 sacks together with Robinson, Kevin Allen, and Terry Webb. Pretty solid there. There also is a few pass deflections. And it even shows that their safety got a 95-yard interception turned touchdown. So that's pretty darn good. So I think SMU's defense, they can crack down on Sawyer, and especially if Sawyer gets sacked 4 times and for some reason Baylor does not fix any tweaks to fix that sack to fix that little sack problem. I think it's not okay, but it'll be looked at as like, oh, okay, well, he got sacked 1 or 2 times. But if he gets sacked more than 4 times, like 4 or more times, then that offensive line may have a problem. Whether it's because the team that Baylor faced was blitzing or not, Baylor's offense needs to be more aware, and they need to pick up their blocks. And they can't be losing, whether it's they're losing one-on-one battles, whether it's blitzing. Again, I think they just need to do a better job at protecting Sawyer. If they do, SMU, it's going to be a tough day for their defense, especially with Sawyer playing out of this world like he did last game, even though he still lost. It literally sounds like I'm talking about the Bengals right now. But SMU can still also make it a close game, being a back and forth offensive game. But we'll definitely see. I would like to see how this game goes. Realistically, I think it will come down to SMU winning by a touchdown or more, but Baylor could and honestly should make it a lot closer game. So after these two, we get Kennesaw State and Indiana. That'll be a wash. Sorry, Kennesaw. And I'm not trying to like throw shade at any of these teams. I'm just saying that this is what I see. And obviously, you're looking at the favorites. It's almost no contest sometimes. Texas State beating Kent State. You got Virginia versus North Carolina State. That could be a solid game. I don't have that as one of my 7, but that could be a very solid game. Minnesota beating Northwestern State. You got Pitt beating Michigan, I think. Syracuse versus UConn could be a close game, but Syracuse could just run over that team. Liberty and Jacksonville State, that's a obvious conference to conference, I'm pretty sure. You have Utah State versus Texas A&M. That'll be a blowout for Texas A&M in my opinion. Wake Forest, some of these games that you guys really won't watch unless you're like big fans of the colleges. You got Ohio State and Georgia facing almost absolute nobodies. Oregon is facing Oklahoma State, but I think Oklahoma State will only get like 20 points, maybe less, probably less. Clemson facing Troy. Hopefully, with getting out of that loss, they can be able to get back a win against Troy at home, make themselves feel a little bit better. Then you got Ole Miss versus Kentucky, and this is going to be our third game that I'm going to be talking about. Even though it does say the favorite is Mississippi, you could be looking at something a little bit different, in my opinion. Simpson's, Ole Miss's quarterback, he had thrown 341 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, but he did have 2 interceptions. You have Lacey and Diggs, both of them, they did pretty darn good. Lacey having 108 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns, 16 attempts. Diggs had 91 yards, 1 touchdown, and 7 attempts. And you also have the 2 receivers. I think they can have an even better game. Well, I think Wallace. It's not. I don't think it's Wallace. But you have a jeez, Daquan. Here, I'm gonna click on Old Miss real quick. I think you guys should probably. Well, I think you guys kind of know who I'm talking about, but yeah, you have Harrison, Wallace. Yeah, I guess it is Wallace. I may be pronouncing that name wrong. If I am, let me know. Daquan Wright, who's a tight end. You even got Caleb, who even put up some solid yards, and so did Dizon. So you have some guys that can put up a lot of yards, but probably focusing more on Harrison and Daquan Wright being that wide receiver tight end duo, with also having Diggs and Lacey being that 1-2 punch that Ole Miss is going to need to be able to beat Kentucky at home. In my opinion, they also have a solid front seven. Now, they didn't necessarily face anybody good, so obviously their front seven looked pretty darn good. Their linebackers, the ends, had the pressure, was able to get solid tackles. Absolutely nothing came from the team that they faced besides, I think, like 3 points or something like that. But I do think, if we go back to the offense, I do think you got to watch out for this guy. What is it? Deuce Alexander, because he did get a few running attempts, 48 yards, and obviously he only got 2 catches for 17 yards. But if they're going to be putting him for that, if they're going to be giving him that leverage and those reps to be able to get the ball as a running back or get the ball as a receiver, I think you're going to probably see a lot more of him, and he's going to be that secret weapon. If Ole Miss cannot get a good running game going, they'll just pop it off to Deuce Alexander. So I think Ole Miss can pull out the win. I don't think it's going to be too easy, but it's Kentucky, so you might as well say that Ole Miss can put up 20-plus points on these guys. But you do have Kentucky, and since it's going to be at Kroger Field, Kentucky, Zach, their quarterback, Zach C. His name's actually not Zach C. I'm saying Zach C. He threw for 85 passing yards, threw for an interception. Though they are more of a running type team, with Dante having 129 yards, 14 attempts, and Seth, I can't necessarily pronounce his last name, but it's like Seth Mick that I have on here, 78 yards, 18 attempts, both of them combined with 2 touchdowns. And you even have a solid tight end duo with Josh and Willie R. Both of those two have made plays for them in the past, but really I think Zach needs to feel a little bit more able to throw the ball. Unless he's getting pressured, then that's probably where that interception came from. So realistically, unless Kentucky's rushing game blows Ole Miss's team out of the water, you will probably see Ole Miss putting up 20 points. But I wouldn't be surprised if you see Kentucky's front line getting a total, like they right now have a total of 3 sacks on their team. Those 2 came from, I believe, came from a couple of good some two solid defensive linemen, even have strong linebacker core in Alex Afrayi Jr. with 13 total sacks, leading the team in 13 total tackles, leading the team in tackles. Goodness gracious. And then you have Tennessee facing East Tennessee. Kansas, Missouri, that may be a closer game than Ole Miss and Kentucky. Really just got to see on that one. Rutgers versus Ohio, Fresno State versus Oregon State, Georgia Tech getting the win more than likely against this team that I don't think I've ever heard of. Bowling Green versus Cincinnati at Cincinnati. That will more than likely be Cincinnati's ball game. Colorado and Delaware. At least Colorado will be able to get a win hopefully this weekend against Delaware, especially at their home, hopefully putting up 40 plus points to make themselves feel better about the loss that they had last week. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty solid with some of these smaller teams facing each other. Wisconsin facing Middle Tennessee, West Virginia facing Ohio, and then you got South Florida versus Florida. And I know you guys are going to tell me, Stove, why would you want to talk about South Florida versus Florida? Isn't Florida supposed to be a way more prestigious athletic school than South Florida? And does Florida have a bunch of 4 and 5 stars? And does South Florida probably not even have a chance in hell against the ranked 13th Florida team? Well, you may say that, but I do like an underdog story, and from what I've seen, even though Byram Brown did get sacked 4 times, the guy did throw a solid 210 yards with 2 rushing touchdowns, even had 2 solid, well actually, yeah, I mean, you even have 2 solid running backs in Isaac and another running back in Norton. Both of them could break out. I think Isaac can break out even more, even though he doesn't have a touchdown, Norton does. But I do think one of those two are going to just break out in more ways than one, probably even on the receiving side, because they do have a couple of catches, and then you also have Singleton and Nimrod. And yes, there is a receiver in South Florida, last name Nimrod. Nimrod got 3 catches for 96 yards, Singleton 93 yards and 5 catches, and 1 touchdown. Obviously, I think, in my opinion, Byram should look for more of the checkdowns with the running backs. I do think you give the running backs some room, you give the running backs some space. And I'm telling you, you drop it off to Norton or Isaac, they're going to hopefully beat the linebacker corner that they're facing and go for another 5-10 yards. I'm telling you, Byram Brown could end up looking like a hero if he does exactly what he did to Boise State. Now again, like I said, Florida is an entirely different defense than Boise State. But South Florida is going into Florida University's stadium. It will be a barn burner if South Florida beats Florida like how they beat Boise State. But obviously, Florida will put up a lot more points than Boise State, and we will probably more than likely see Florida beat South Florida. But if South Florida makes it a good game, I don't know. You may want to watch out for South Florida, because if they come in with the same intensity, their defense even putting up some good tackling numbers with their linebackers and DBs, really putting the pressure on the Boise State's passing and rushing offense, you could also see Florida being like, I don't know, like, we gotta be careful with the South Florida team. We can do what we can do, but we gotta be a little careful, because we can't just, be that team to Boise State like type mentality, thinking that we're just gonna crush South Florida. It may be something else. Florida could just wipe South Florida out of the conversation of even trying to be a top 25 team, but we'll see. Obviously, Florida did play 2 quarterbacks. Their starter, Jones, who threw for 131 yards, 2 touchdowns. Fantastic start. DJ Lagway, 120 yards and 3 passing touchdowns. And at first, I was kind of confused, but it's just because Florida was facing not really a good team. They were thinking, okay, well, Jones had a good run. Let's just put our freshman in so he can play. And even the freshman did pretty darn good. So we'll just have to see. Florida, obviously, they have so much going for them. Their run game is pretty solid. They did throw around their receivers quite a bit, so that's pretty darn good. And like I said, this South Florida team should not be, like, you guys should seriously not, like, if you're a South Florida fan for some reason, or for any reason, maybe look at this game a little bit. If they're already down like 21-0, then don't worry about it. Stove was wrong. But Florida University could either have a possible defensive takeover and absolutely crush South Florida, or you could see some mistakes to say that Florida had a defensive breakdown and couldn't stop South Florida when they really needed to. That's all I'm saying. And now that we got 4 of our games out of the way, I am pushing the 50-minute mark, which in these previews of this is gonna be just a long slate of teams, me talking about stuff. But obviously I want you guys to be able to enjoy this stuff too. Like I said, please comment. Please let me know if I'm missing any games that you guys think I should have talked about, or a couple of teams that I should talk about more. Like maybe Kansas State facing Army, with Army, what they did last year. This could probably be a closer game, especially since Kansas State, I'm pretty sure 1-1 right now. North Carolina, they lost their last game against TCU. Absolute blowout, realistically. North Carolina versus Charlotte. At Charlotte, mind you, this is going to be a little bit of a different team. I think North Carolina needs to solve whatever they need to solve, because they played 2 quarterbacks. And I think if you're playing 2 quarterbacks, like, granted, they were getting blown out, so they obviously put a second quarterback in there. But if you're playing 2 quarterbacks and your defense is getting completely destroyed by TCU, then you definitely not only need to figure out what you need to do on offense and do that consistently. Whatever you guys did the first drive, do that consistently. But also, you guys need to fix whatever is going on defense, because that was probably more of a surprise than anything, especially since Belichick is such a defensive guy and he loves the defense. But I think if you're North Carolina's defense, you definitely got or are getting chewed out until you guys have a solid game, whether it's against Charlotte, whether it gets somebody else. I know it's North Carolina. It's filled with a bunch of 2, 3, and maybe like 2 or 3, 4 stars, but you're just trying to figure it out. And in my opinion, I don't really see North Carolina going like above and beyond. Their high is winning 8 games. Their low is winning 4, in my opinion. It's the same thing with how I felt about the Colorado team. But anyway, so you got Houston versus Rice. Houston should beat Rice there. You got some teams that are facing each other in conference. LSU versus Louisiana Tech. Then you got Arizona State versus Mississippi State. Now, if you guys, again, want me, I may just condense these down to not saying anything really about the teams that are playing, but just talk about the 7 games that I have picked out. I may just do that next time. I know some people may not want to hear someone ramble on for over an hour on a full week of college football, but it is 134 136 college teams in D1 college football, so it is a lot. But anyway, I may condense it down to just having to talk about these 7 games here. I don't know. I will still think about it, but I think for your guys' purpose, your guys' entertainment, let me know what I should do. But I'm rambling on, but I will want to condense a slight bit more with just talking about these games. But speaking of these games, Arizona State, Mississippi State, you got a solid Big 12 team facing a not so solid team in the AEC, well, not AEC, SEC conference, but Mississippi State will always give a challenge to a ranked team, in my opinion, unless it's like a top 6, top 10 school that could easily just knows how to dominate them. Mississippi State had their good moments on defense, even had their good moments on offense last year, but as you can show by the favorite, it is 6.5 points favorite to Arizona State. Arizona State, man, if I was not born in Ohio and I was born in my father's birth state, I would have probably went to Arizona State for college. But you got their quarterback, Sam Levliet, with 257 passing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, and an interception. So obviously he has been throwing the ball pretty a good amount, probably, and he was throwing the ball pretty well in my opinion. Had above a 65 passing percentage completion. You have Carson Brown, you have Jordan Tyson. Both of those guys are going to be their key players. They really are. Now, granted, I do think Sam should give more of the ball to anybody else. Like, some other receivers should at least show that they're able to put something out there for their offense. Yeah, they do have, like, these 2 guys Brown and Tyson are solid players, but the more you use these guys, the possibility of them getting hurt grows a significant amount by like week 6 or week 8. And by that point, you want these guys healthy for those last 2 to 3 games to not only make the Big 12 conference championship, but to even be fighting for a spot or to be fighting for a higher spot at the conference playoff. Well, the college playoffs for football. They do have a collective defense. Could have more sack. Like, they do have 3 sacks. Each sack came from every level of their defense. So their D-line group has 1 sack. Their linebacker group has 1 sack. Their DB/safety group has 1 sack. So that means this defense looks like that they're wanting to fly around. And that's great. That's exactly what you need to stop Mississippi's defense and maybe even cause their quarterback to throw more than just 1 interception like he did last week. And that's what I'm going to move into next. Obviously, Mississippi State, their quarterback, Blake SH, which that's what I have on my notebook here, 270 passing yards with 1 touchdown. They got a solid rushing team with Devon B and Fluff B. Again, I don't have their last names on here. I usually just write one name and then put the letter of their first name and dot it. But Devon with 16 attempts, 79 rushing yards, 1 rushing touchdown. Fluff B has 10 attempts, 43 yards, and 2 touchdowns. They even have some solid, a solid 1-2 punch in the receiving deal of it. B. Thompson has 92 yards, 7 catches. That's a wide receiver there. And you even have S. Trayor. I'm so much butchering that name right there. But you got 5 catches from him and 77 yards receiving and a receiving touchdown. That boy's a tight end. He's going to be pretty good if Mississippi State can still throw the ball the way that they need to. Now, Mississippi State has a deep linebacking core. They also have some solid safeties and corners that have been going around, getting some solid tackles, but I do think it will be a struggle for both of these two teams. Mississippi State is used to facing powerhouses. Arizona State, they're part of the Pac-12. The only time that they're facing real powerhouses is when they are facing teams from the Big Ten or the ACC or even the SEC. Not to throw shade at the Big 12, but Arizona State facing Mississippi State, it will be a close game. Arizona State, unless Arizona State can widen out their variety of receivers when throwing the ball, but also keep their two big players in Jordan Tyson and Kyson Brown, like, keep them moving, let them break out for whatever much they want. Actually, I completely forgot to say that Kenson Brown even had 6 catches and 72 receiving yards. So this guy is everywhere, and so is Jordan Tyson. You just have to still give that offense more variety. And that defense, I feel like, should take care of itself, maybe even getting an interception and a couple of sacks off of Blake, the Mississippi quarterback. Going into now pushing over an hour of recording. I hope it's not going to be like this every single time. Like I said, I could condense it down, but Michigan, who's ranked 15th, Oklahoma ranked 18th. Obviously, Bryce Underwood did a solid job last week. He had 251 passing yards and one passing touchdown. That guy is also a little mobile. You can get a little pep in his step. He needs to go out of the pocket. That's what he'll do. If he wants to stay in the pocket, that's what he'll do. Um, you even have a solid run game by Justin H. 16 attempts, 159 yards, 3 rushing touchdowns. That guy is going to be absolutely the guy to try to, not to say that I think he should be taken out, not saying that, but Oklahoma definitely needs to control Justin. If they can't control Justin and they don't get pressure around that quarterback, around that freshman quarterback, it's going to be hell for Oklahoma's defense. I'm just saying. They they do have some good plays, but I do think they need to do a little bit more pressure, whether it's blitzing, whether it's anything. Make this freshman run. Obviously, he seems to be mobile enough to run out of the pocket, but make this boy run. See what you can do in order to just absolutely make this freshman fear Oklahoma's defense. And if you can, then it turns into more of the game for Oklahoma. It's obviously at Oklahoma. I think Michigan is not going to have an easy game here. But I do think Justin, Bryce Underwood, and even having Marlin